Do you know that land disputes are one of the most common legal issues in India? Every year, thousands of cases make their way to courts, revolving around land ownership and rights. Imagine trying to buy your dream home only to discover it's caught up in a legal battle. Land laws in India can be confusing and complicated, but understanding them is essential for everyone, whether you're a property buyer, seller, or just curious about the legal landscape. Today, we're diving deep into the law of land in India to help you navigate this important topic. Let's start with a basic understanding of land in India. The ownership of land is governed by various laws and regulations. These laws can differ depending on the state and the type of land involved. In India, land is categorized as agricultural land and non-agricultural land. Agricultural land is used for farming, while non-agricultural land is meant for commercial, residential, or industrial purposes. Land ownership in India is typically governed by three main laws: the Transfer of Property Act, the Indian Easements Act, and local land revenue laws. First, let's talk about the Transfer of Property Act of 1882. This act outlines the rules and regulations for the sale, gift, and mortgage of property. Under this act, a property can be transferred from one person to another through sale deeds or gift deeds. It's essential that the sale deed is registered to make the transfer legal and binding. Next, we have the Indian Easements Act of 1882. This act addresses the rights related to property use and enjoyment. For example, if a property owner wants to install a gate on their land, but it requires crossing another person's property, they need to consider easement rights. Now let's touch on local land revenue laws. Each state has its own laws governing land use, revenue collection, and property taxes. These laws determine how land can be used and what kind of permissions are required for construction or land changes. To give you an idea of how these laws come into play, let's look at a real-life example. In Tamil Nadu, you might hear about the Patta system. Patta is a legal document certifying an individual's ownership of a piece of land. Without a Patta, claiming ownership can be extremely tough, even if you've been farming that land for generations. It's a powerful reminder of how important documentation and legal status can be when it comes to land disputes. Another point to consider is property rights. In India, property rights have evolved over the years. Traditionally, land was passed down generations. But with the introduction of modern laws, rights can change, especially in the case of women's rights to inherit property. The Hindu Succession Act, for example, has made significant strides in giving daughters equal rights to ancestral property. Now let's discuss land acquisition, which is another critical area. The Right to Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act 2013 was enacted to ensure that landowners are fairly compensated. This act mandates that government acquire land only for public purposes, like building roads or schools, and it provides for compensation to the displaced owners. But land acquisition isn't always smooth. Many times, communities and landowners resist acquisition due to inadequate compensation or poor rehabilitation plans. Understanding your rights here can be crucial if you're involved in a land acquisition scenario. Speaking of rights, let's also touch on land use regulations. Urban planning and zoning laws dictate how land can be used in cities. For instance, what may seem like a perfect location for a shopping mall might actually be zoned exclusively for residential use. Always check the local zoning laws before investing in property. On a lighter note, often we hear stories about land grabbing. This illegal act involves someone taking land that isn't theirs, often through coercive means. Land grabbing is more prevalent in rural areas, and victims often find it challenging to reclaim their property. Awareness of legal provisions can aid in safeguarding against such issues. As you can see, understanding land laws in India is essential for anyone interested in buying, selling, or using land. But it isn't just about knowing the laws, it's about being proactive in gathering all the necessary documents, understanding property rights, and being aware of local regulations. If this information has been helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And why not share it with someone who might benefit from understanding the law of land in India? Have you experienced any land issues or disputes? Let us know in the comments below. Your story could help others in similar situations. Navigating land laws in India can feel overwhelming, but with the right knowledge, you can approach property transactions with confidence. Understanding your rights and obligations will strengthen your position whether you're buying, selling, or just learning. Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to something as valuable as land. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.